look at you guys. This is incredible. Welcome to the Virginia Citizens Defense League's 18th annual lobby day. Gun owners of all races and creeds from Virginia and across the country are here to stand in solidarity against gun control. I want to thank all of you for coming out on such a cold day.
Well, we won't back down. We're gonna stand our ground. We know you're trying to open the gates of hell, but we won't back down. So yes, we'll stand our ground. We won't be pushed around. We must keep you from putting our kids in the ground, so we can't stand down. No, we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't stand down, brother. So we'll stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. 'Cause we know what's right. And we got plenty of fight. And if you think you're gonna keep pushing us around, well, you'll lose that crown. 'Cause we won't back down. We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've got to stand our ground. And no, we won't back down. You know, it's pretty clear that these lunatics think they have the right to strip us of our rights of self-defense. And if they're willing to do that, what else are they willing to do? We won't back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. No, we won't back down. Back down, baby. There ain't no easy way out. We can't back down, brother. We've got to stand our ground. So we won't back down. No, we won't back down. Virginians, you won't fight this fight alone.
Well, good evening, everybody. Ed Levine here from VCDL social media.
Ain't no easy way
I've got Philip
back
hanging on. Oh, hang on. What happened to my fight song? There's Philip. And Pat is joining us soon. And how you doing? Our first show that we've had on a Sunday night. And that was because you guys voted to have us change it up to Sunday. We're still going to have the in-person on the third Thursday of every month at XCal in Loudon. We'll talk more about that. I know, see, Pat's trying to get on, but she's got she's booting up her camera or something. Otherwise, it'd be a blank screen. Hi, Philip. How you doing?
Good, doing good. I saw Dennis Petruccelli checked in here, which reminds me of something else I want to talk about. Mental health.
Okay.
What I've been finding out about what, as an organization, we can do. So put that on your list of something we'll talk about.
Okay. Let me just jot that down real quick. So before, after the Democrats, or not the Democrats, the anti-gunners, whoever you want to call them, they banned guns on Capitol Square and certain places where we normally go and carry. And you went out and found something that you carry at those places, Philip. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah. So, for example, a weekend ago or so, we had the Blacksburg stepping out. And Blacksburg has an ordinance that says you can't carry a firearm at an event that's permitted or should be permitted. Um, for now, forget the fact that they didn't mark anything the way by law they were supposed to mark things with signs, postings. They didn't even come close to following the law on that. But needless to say, you couldn't carry a firearm. So I'm always going to try to find whatever I can legally carry to protect myself. And one of the things I'd found a while back was the Byrna system, which is a pepper ball gun. I like the concept of being able to project, even if it's non-lethal force, at least being able to project that from a distance, unlike a knife or even pepper spray where you have to be really close, or like I say, with a knife or a baton or something where you got to be within bad breath range of each other. And, unless you're stronger and meaner and bigger than the other person, that's not a good deal. I wanted something that could project power, much like a firearm, but without being a firearm.
Cool. Well, I thought that was really cool when you showed me that, and I did some research online and looking at it and the costs and whatever. And I think Pat even sells them in her gun store now. Maybe she does. And I thought, man, that would be pretty cool if we could get some sort of discount or something for VCDL members. And I figured I would reach out to Byrna and see what they could do for us or what they could tell us. And not only did they agree and say they're going to do that, they brought a guy to talk about it. So let's welcome Stephen to the program. Welcome, Stephen.
Hey, Stephen.
Hi, folks.
Let's see. Oh, you're breaking up a little bit. Are you guys hearing him, or is he breaking up to you?
He's breaking up a little bit.
Am I breaking up a little bit?
Oh,
yeah, he's breaking a little bit.
So why don't you tell us what's going on and what you represent and what you got and what you do, and we'll sit back and listen for a minute.
He may be frozen right now.
He is frozen to me. Oh, there he is.
No, now you're back.
Am I back, guys?
Yeah, you're back now.
Okay, perfect. A little better?
A little bit.
Nope. Now he just dropped off.
Technology is our friend, right?
Yeah. Well, this is a problem they've had with live television since they ever had live television. You don't get to cut and splice and
Yeah,
put it
but
all together.
I can always cut to Pat to talk about Top Gun or the picnic or you to Lobby Day, and we can, as soon as he joins back on, we'll just jump him back on.
All right, where do you want to go?
Well, I just got a text, text from John, who headed up the Newport. They had an event in Newport, Virginia, which is way out west, and we had a VCDL table there, and John handed out Gun Saves Live stickers and VCDL applications, and I just got a text from him just now, literally came in. Saying that it was the VCL booth was very, very well received. So that's good. That's a place we've never had a booth at before. We're trying to again reach out and do that. I see Stephen. Stephen's gone again.
Well, it's funny. I saw Stephen for a second, and then he joined. It looks like he joined from another device, like a cell phone or another.
Back again?
Is this a different device or a different camera?
No, you're muted.
Now we don't have any audio on you.
You're muted.
Take your mute off. I'll try it here for mine.
We were just talking to him on this same system perfectly. Everything, no problem. Nothing was breaking up. Everything was beautiful until we started. Murphy's Law. He just waits for things like this to happen.
Yep.
Let's see.
Philip, they're asking you to get a little closer to your mic too.
Okay. Well, all right.
Stephen, can we hear you now? One second. He's gonna link up his Bluetooth earbud. So we'll talk about something else when Stephen will just jump in when he can. So Pat, you want to go with?
Okay. On the 28th of this month, which is a Sunday, VCDL is having the first picnic that we've had in a very, very long time. It's a little bit east of Richmond at a place called Osborne Park and Boat Landing. If the weather is nice, we might bring our boat down and people can take rides up and down the James River. There's a fishing pier. You do need a fishing license if you're 16 or over. There's catfish, bass. I actually caught a blue crab today. That really surprised me because it's fresh water, but it is tidal water. So it's a really nice park. There's a big grassy area. So if you want to bring along a cornhole game or badminton or anything like that, as long as we don't tear the grass up, we can set up games out there. Nice picnic pavilion. And check the VA alerts. You can go on the VCDL.org website and look at I think it was the last VA alert had a link to how to RSVP to that. We are limited to 80 people, so please RSVP. And also I need to know how many people we're feeding because VCDL is supplying burgers, dogs, and drinks. And then the people coming are welcome to bring dishes, but it's not mandatory.
I eat for two.
Okay.
Yeah, we haven't done this in a while. This ought to be fun. It's always good, great company. I mean, I always enjoyed these picnics. Everybody has a blast. And typical of these events, everybody hangs around long after the normal time because you're having a good time talking to like-minded people.
All right,
Absolutely.
Stephen, you want to try again? No, you're still muted to us.
Does he know about the mute button on the screen? Is it you showing?
He's got the mute button on the screen, and if it's something going on with his computer, you can even use that link and join from your cell phone if you want to. I mean, it would suck, but at least we'd be able to hear you. I'll just speak for you. Steve says he loves VCDL so much, everybody gets free Byrnas and 100% off per Stephen.
I bet he's finding that link pretty soon.
Actually, so Philip can tell you about the Byrna firearm or whatever itself, but also, yes, sir, we can. Let me just get you on the screen.
Perfect. I really apologize for that. Of course, everything was working perfectly when we were just chatting, and then when we're live, everything goes haywire.
So tell us what Byrna is all about.
Yes, sir. Folks, really appreciate everyone joining and giving some of your precious Sunday night. I just very quickly want to introduce myself. My name is Stephen Lipton. I run the retail sales program at Byrna. Ed reached out a couple weeks ago because we have folks at VCDL who actually have heard about Byrna and use Byrna in their personal lives. And, we at Byrna are strong Second Amendment supporters. Most people carry, but we feel very passionately about providing people more tools in the spectrum of force to deal with scenarios. And whether it be in addition to your everyday carry or in scenarios where, lethal force is illegal. This is a really, really flexible tool that we think adds value and is just another tool in the spectrum of force for folks.
Hold it a little bit higher because you still got that chin thing.
There you go.
Yes, sir. So this is our Byrna SDXL. This is our biggest handheld launcher model. As you can see, it's pretty standard size in terms of, 9mm handguns, ambidextrous safety, 5-round magazine, barrel, sights, all that good stuff. It presents very similarly to. And
it was so cool that within 3 weeks of me calling you that you got it made in VCDL orange. We appreciate that.
Exactly. So our launchers, and I'll take a step back and provide, more context on Byrna, why non-lethal we think non-lethal is important for everyone, carry and don't carry. But the launcher does come in 6 colors: black, orange, tan, yellow, gray, and pink. We actually also do have we have a partnership with Gunskins. So we have a really cool, very patriotic American flag wrap and some really cool stuff. So people can customize their launchers. So to give a little context, exactly. To give just like that. So to give a little context on Byrna, Byrna has been around since 2005. We started as the manufacturer and marketer of a 40 mil blunt impact projectile exclusively for law enforcement. And our current CEO came in 2018 and realized, that while our bit product is fantastic and we still market it and sell, design it, sell it to law enforcement, it was a little bit too niche of a market for, for the growth of this company. So in 2019, bought the patent portfolio of our current CTO. And, the really neat thing is our CTO, Andre, is a paintball fanatic. And, he's now 45 years old. But back when he was in his 20s in college, he would go, it's so freaking annoying. My paintballs won't fly straight. And what he did was essentially take a standard paintball system and shrink it down into the size of, essentially a handgun. And so what's really neat about this launcher is 114 components assembled in the United States. What it is a pneumatic launcher. That's a fancy way of saying an air gun. But this is not the air gun that you plunked around with when you were a kid. This is a really, really high-tech piece of technology. The way that this is constructed is there's two plastic injection molded receiver halves connected by this top slide. There is machine parts, metal injected molded parts, plastic injected molded parts. There are 114 components in here. So this is a really, really high grade piece of technology. So to talk about why non-lethal is important and why having more tools in your tool belt is important, I think one of the things that's important is to acknowledge is that people feel unsafe. In 2020, in the wake of a lot of the riots and civil unrest, 23 million firearms were sold, and so we are strong Second Amendment supporters and support people, exercising their constitutional right to carry and protect themselves and their families and their property with lethal force. However, I think the one thing that a lot of people would acknowledge is of those 23 million people, and I think it was over 10 million first-time firearms buyers, what percentage of those folks have adequately dedicated themselves to training themselves and going through the rigorous process of, being a responsible firearms owner? And I think if we're honest with ourselves, the answer is not as many as we'd hope. And so, one of the demographics of people that we think that this product is applicable for, and frankly, we think it's basically every U.S. citizen over 18, which is the only requirement to carry it. But what's awesome about this product is we have a crude joke where we call this the gateway drug to firearms. And the reason we say that is because it is a similar manual of arms. And one of the things that, first time firearms practitioners or, people that are new to lethal force, the recoil and noise are two things that are intimidating. And this launcher has essentially no noise. It makes a little pop, and there is literally zero recoil. So it's very accessible and a similar manual of arms. So, it's an easy way for folks to get accustomed to, a comparable platform.
There's some questions
Yes,
that like, what is the weight? I've got it, but I never weighed it. It's not very heavy.
It is 3 pounds and change. It is incredibly lightweight. It's plastic injection molded. The one thing I will say is, so it is, the projectiles are 68 caliber, so the same size as paintball, but very different than paintball rounds. So it is a little thick. So if you're a smaller person, it's definitely challenging to concealed carry. If you're on the larger side, then you can most certainly concealed carry it very easily. But a lot of times people will carry it in a sling bag, a fanny pack, a backpack,
It's funny that as a marketing guy, that some of the things you say in marketing, like we even have it in pink or purple or orange to make it not look like a firearm, where you take a guy like Philip and he's like, I absolutely want it to look like a firearm.
Yes. Exactly. So that's actually a very, very important point. And I think we'll answer some questions that I think I'll get, because I usually do. So what we have to acknowledge is this presents like a firearm. This orange color is a safety color. But, as we know, they're making firearms in every color under the sun now. But this is clearly a safety color. The launcher comes in black, and black is our #1 most popular color. 35% of sales are black. And so there's two things to address here. One, it looks like a firearm for two reasons. One, we know that 85% of the time that a firearm or firearm-like device is presented, it is a deterrent and nothing happens. So there is an inherent risk with this product because of that. Just like there's, there are pluses and minuses to every tool under the sun. But so that's the one thing we have to acknowledge. This looks like a firearm because people want that intimidation factor. But secondly, the other side of it is this is the most accurate and effective platform in this size to fire a projectile at the effective range of this launcher, which is 60 feet. So, really, really serious effective range. And I'll jump in just to be cognizant of everyone's time. I'll jump into kind of features and benefits and how the platform works. But that, I just want to get that out of the way and acknowledge it. It looks like a firearm because it's intimidating. And then also this is the best and most accurate platform to, fire a projectile.
So somebody was asking about the ammunition. Again, you might, when you get a chance, show them the little,
absolutely. So
the ammo is a ball.
This
lower.
This
there you go.
This is one of our projectiles. So this is the exact same size as a paintball at 68 caliber, but this is like the frozen paintball of your nightmares. So the way that the way that our projectiles function is, as you can see, where the coloring is, it's 2 plastic injection molded shells. These are hard plastic shells, and our chemical irritant rounds. This is a training round. This is our inert training round, but there is compressed powder in there, and so you fire this projectile, center mass, an immense amount of pain. It breaks skin, and then this splits open, and the powder aerosolizes. So with our Byrna Max and our Byrna Pepper, we have a round that's just a 5% OC, which is pepper spray. And then we have a round that's OC and CS, so tear gas and pepper spray. Our Max round has a 3 cubic square foot dispersion cloud. So you don't have to be it's incredibly easy to use and very accurate. You can even use indirect fire, which is what a lot of our law enforcement partners do. If someone's coming around the corner, you can break the projectile on the wall and expose that person to chemical agent. So I'm going to harp on the term flexible tool, but that's really what this is. Our Byrna platform, we're providing flexible tools for people. So
would it work if you fired at their feet and hit the concrete below
absolutely.
them?
A lot of times people will do that in the morning because it is serious to fire this at someone. We tell people to treat this like a firearm, even though obviously it's a non-lethal, less lethal tool. So like I showed you guys, 5-round mag release right there. The front of the launcher, we have our barrel, and then we have our CO2 tube. So there's this little cap that comes off very easily. You pop your little CO2 in here. You put this cap on here. So it's really neat and so easy to use is how convenient and this tool is. So there's a hex key on the bottom of the mag. So you put your CO2 in. You tighten this down just until it's flush like this. And then you load your magazine. And what's amazing is this tool is now primed and ready to go for an indefinite period of time. So unlike any of the other air guns that have ever existed, we have a patented technology where this CO2 sits in here for an indefinite period of time. So let's say in your daily life, you work in a hospital and you can't carry a firearm on premises. So in your car, you would want something to protect yourself. So you could have this in your car every day. Your magazine is loaded. Your CO2 is primed and ready to go. Indefinitely, this is ready to go. At a moment's notice, the ambidextrous safety, you would switch it to fire. So our patented technology is the first trigger pull simultaneously punctures the CO2 and fires the projectile at the same time. And so the reason that's really important is this tool is meant to de-escalate situations. So this is not meant to put someone down. There are plenty of funny videos, and I'll circulate some hopefully after this, but of people being seriously incapacitated with the product. It is around very strong, basically the highest potency available besides to law enforcement and military in terms of the chemical agent, and it hurts like heck. It's really no joke.
Have you been shot?
I am not foolish enough to have been. It is really. I've seen enough people who are all have a bravado and say, "Oh, that's a toy."
Now the CO2, I guess you said the CO2 will last forever till you puncture it, but the balls themselves, are they affected by heat and cold and humidity and all that?
Another great question. So if you leave this in your car and it's 120 degrees outside for an entire summer, these rounds are plastic. So that will there's definitely a risk of it affecting them. So the operating temperature that we talk about in our manual that outlines, the appropriate use, etc., is 20 degrees through 120. So extreme cold can affect the launcher and extreme heat. So I would recommend, if you have it with you every day, not to leave it in your car all day long, baking in the hot sun, for example. It's not the launcher itself. It's more the projectiles that I would say over time could degrade. So the shelf life on one of these is 18 months. So it's not that it's not effective after 18 months, but the chemical agent starts to lose, its full efficacy. So we recommend, that's why we sell our chemical agent rounds in 5 count tubes and then 25 count, because we used to sell them in 95 counts. And we had a joke where we said, anyone that buys 95 count of tear gas and pepper spray should be put on an FBI watch list because they're up to no good. But the other,
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just thinking out loud. But if you took that standard launcher, you have some rounds, a couple magazines. What is someone looking to spend on that wants that type of package?
Absolutely. So our retail packaging comes with nice zippered case. It's a launcher. We call it a launcher. Some people, people use words, interchangeably, but we're careful not to call it a firearm because it's not a firearm, and that comes with, some pretty unique benefits in terms of where you can use it, et cetera. Comes with a launcher, 2 5-round magazines, 2 of the CO2s, and 15 projectiles. 5 of our eco-kinetic. We have a biodegradable training round that's really, really cool. You can go out in the backyard, fire that at a tree, it goes poof, and then you let Mother Nature do the work. It will come with 5 of our kinetic rounds, which is a hard polymer. Those are a really, really unique round because that is a combo of self-defense and training. Those are a direct impact round. If you fire that at someone with, any of what the clothing that we're wearing right now, it'll look like you stamped out a cigar on someone's chest. The other neat thing is it shatters auto glass at up to 15 feet. And then the other neat thing is it's the only round that doesn't go poof. So if you fire that into a soft pellet trap or target, you can reuse those rounds. So you can use that for training. But so
even a pile of clothes.
Yeah. What is really neat is you're able to candy stripe your mag with different rounds. So oftentimes what our law enforcement partners will do is the first 2 or 3 rounds will be the kinetic, and then the next 2 or 3 rounds will be chemical agent. For them, it's an escalation of their use of force if they go from just direct impact to releasing chemical agent. So they prefer, and the kinetic does the job, 9 times out of 10. A funny little anecdote is we have over 300 law enforcement agencies using the platform, including DA and ATF have run pilot programs on it. We were invited to present at LAPD's non-lethal summit this summer. So, there's serious professional adoption, which provides credibility because if it's good enough for the pros, and, these agencies are replacing Taser on their belt with the launcher because for a variety of reasons. First,
cool. Maybe you can sell them to the 87,000 IRS agents that are going to come back and attack the citizens of the country.
So I know. So the neat thing that, in comparison with the other non-lethal tools, because this is what's important. So, Ed alluded to, when we were talking earlier about pepper spray and stuff like that. So like I've mentioned, every tool has its pluses and minuses, every tool up through lethal force. So the reason why this is so game-changing, our launcher is, in terms of non-lethal, is effective range, that's 60-foot effective range. And when I say 60 feet, I mean 8-inch rings of accuracy at 60 feet. Like, for someone who's not a good shot, and I really mean that, it's really remarkable how easy and accurate the launcher is. So what that allows is time under stress. So let's say, I'll give you an example of, a real life use case. So there was a pastor in Oregon who was in a parking lot outside of, a Walmart or Target or something like that. And he saw this kind of sketchy guy. So this pastor carries lethal force with him. However, he was unsure what this guy was being kind of sketchy and weird, and he was uncomfortable and scared for his safety. Luckily, he also carries his Byrna in his backpack. He pulled out his Byrna. I think the guy was probably 25, 30 feet away from him. And that is half of the effective range. So he was at a comfortable standoff distance from this fellow, pulled out his launcher and pointed at him and said, get away from me. The guy ran away. That guy, 10 minutes later, stabbed someone else and killed someone in that parking lot. So while this man had lethal force that he could have escalated to, because of the effective range of this, he had the opportunity to try to de-escalate with non-lethal force before escalating. And so that, that's what we try to preach to people is this, this tool is not meant to replace a firearm. Anyone that says that is naive at best and, downright foolish at worst. This is another tool for people here who are scared of firearms and don't want to carry a firearm, all the way up through someone who carries every day. So the funny story I wanted to mention about our law enforcement partners is we had a number of agencies around Louisville in the wake of all of the rioting that happened there that adopted the Byrna platform, and they had a running bet to see who could use it operationally first. They got compliance for the first 120 days that these agencies had it, because the second that the officers pulled this out, the perpetrator would get on the ground and surrender. And so they were so frustrated because it took them 120 days of use on their duty belt before they actually got to fire the launcher at someone. So the one professional adoption that we had recently, and I'll have Ed send this video around, but just to highlight how important and flexible we think this is as another tool. Down in Galveston, just south of Houston, we had officers conduct a very high-risk stop of a violent felon on the highway. And so they were able to get this guy to stop his car. The officers, and we have the body cam footage, which is amazing. And so the officers are 40 feet away from this guy. He has his car door open, but he won't come out. They do not know if he is carrying a weapon. So they are not able to use lethal force because, if they use lethal force, especially in the climate that we're in now, if they use lethal force in an unjustified fashion, it's not good. It's not good for anyone. So these officers are able to fire. And I alluded to the indirect fire earlier, and this is where it comes in. They were able to fire 5 rounds of our Byrna Max, our OC&CS round, into the car. The guy is a big fellow. He stumbles out. You see him coughing, and he gets on the ground and he surrenders. What's amazing about that is and I'm not sure if everyone's aware, but the legality pretty, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially, if someone has a lethal weapon, knife up, and they're 20 feet away from an officer, 21 feet, and they take a step towards the officer, lethal force is justified. But these officers were at 35, 40 feet. And so lethal force was not justified at that point in time. There is a scenario where this tool does not do the trick, and if someone's hopped up on something crazy and you may have to escalate. But from that effective range, they were able to de-escalate the situation with this while they still had the flexibility to escalate in the comfort that these officers weren't, they didn't have to be 15 feet away from this violent felon to have to use their taser. So I just want to highlight for folks real life examples of how this is being used, because that's one of the number one questions I get. Has anyone actually used this? And the awesome thing is we have thousands of use cases across professional and civilian use. And we have a blog on our website where we interview folks because we want to spread the word and tell people this tool can be used to protect yourself and your family in addition to all the other tools that you already used.
So,
and the website,
couple of questions.
It's just Byrna.com.
Go ahead.
One observation that I had. It seems to me that this might be something that was of value to maybe girls in college dorms where they're not allowed to have their firearms, but maybe they're too young or the campus doesn't allow guns or whatever. But with the instances of rapes in college dorms and things like that, it seems like it could be a valuable tool. And it's also legal to carry in a lot of places where you can't legally carry your gun. So it gives an option there.
Yeah, Virginia's got some great laws on pneumatics. We almost have no restrictions on them. You can carry pretty much everywhere you go.
We have a funny kind of disparaging joke where we say this is the highest tech spicy paintball gun. So that's the awesome thing about this platform for folks that carry every day. I'm not going to sit here and tell folks that in their daily life, there's a lot of folks who can carry everywhere that they want to go. And I'm not telling them that this tool is going to replace their everyday carry. I would never be foolish enough to say that. However, I think almost every one of us has scenarios where we go to places where you're not able to carry. So people are going from their everyday carry and being protected and safe to nothing. And so right now, this tool is meant to bridge that gap. So there are people like I alluded to as well. There are people that are uncomfortable and scared of firearms. This is better than any of the other tools available for them. There are places where you can't carry a firearm. Let's say you have a family trip and you have to go to California. I travel across the country and I go to trade shows and events. And I oftentimes, talk to people, let's say from Texas, who they can carry everywhere. There's zero restriction. And we'll be at an event in Phoenix, for example. and I'll talk to a young woman who says, I carry every day. This thing is really cool, but I don't see how this, how this is going to help me or why I would need this. I said, okay, are you carrying right now? And she'll go, no, it's such a hassle. I didn't want to declare it. I didn't have, I'm not allowed to carry in this location. And I said, oh, so you went from being protected in your everyday life to nothing. And that's a problem because, you need to always protect yourself, your family, your property. This flexible tool fill that gap. And that's just one example.
And tasers, I've seen plenty of failures on tasers where, you fire, but you're just a little bit out of range. And so
the benefit of this versus taser, and look, Axon, the company that markets taser and the body cams, it's a great company and they came out with a pretty revolutionary product at the time. Like I said, every tool has its flaws. We think in terms of non-lethal, our tool has the least flaws. And again,
Did you ever tell me a price?
So our retail kit is $399 MSRP. We're now with the 20% off. We're basically at $300. And look, it is expensive, and we're cognizant of that. The reason that it's expensive is this is a really high quality, thoughtful product that we manufacture in the United States. And so that's
because you said it fast and missed it. You have created a VCDL discount code for our members. So if you're let me just say, so VCDL 20, I think he's got to do some work on the code tomorrow, and that's going to be good through August, right?
Yes, sir.
So VCDL 20. So if you're not a member and you want to get one of these Byrnas, membership is $25 for a year. So it behoove you to join VCDL so you have a membership so you can buy the Byrna at 20% off.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of other questions. One is, say I take my Byrna out back and I'm playing with it and stuff. So I've punctured that CO2 capsule. Now, do I have to replace that? How long does it take for it to leak down?
And fantastic question. So the one thing I do want to address, because you're teeing me up for something that I forgot to mention, self-defense is the backbone of this platform, but training and recreation is a really amazing byproduct. We all have busy schedules and may not have time to get to the range, but, want to engage in, our favorite manual of arms. The backyard becomes your range. So you open the back door, you had a long day. You can use our biodegradable training rounds fired at a tree. It goes poof, and then you let Mother Nature do the work. So each CO2 fires up to 20 projectiles, depending on temperature. If it's really cold, it's a little less than that. If it's really hot outside, like it's been this summer, sometimes you get more than that. So 4 magazines approximately per CO2. I'm going to tell you the best practice and then, what's reality. So best practice is, even if you fire 1 projectile, and this is super gassed up still, to degas it, to use the Allen key and degas it. You can do that regardless if you just puncture it and haven't even fired a projectile. Because it can sit in here unpunctured, you want to have that fresh cartridge that's unpunctured in there. However, I have left by accident a CO2 in here for up to 2 weeks that I'd fired, let's call it a magazine, and it still works. It's slowly leaking over time. And the other thing is in terms of, wanting to keep your tool, in the best condition possible. When it's gassed up, it puts the O-rings under an immense amount of stress. So it's not great for the launcher, but in a pinch, you don't have to change it. But the CO2s are $2 each, approximately at MSRP. So our recommendation is, if you're going to go and train in the backyard, prepare 4 magazines or, fire those 20 projectiles and then put the new one in and let it go. And, obviously summer is winding down, but it's most certainly a super fun activity, with family and friends, having a barbecue, a little bit of responsible target practice. Obviously, we recommend wearing eye protection and, taking much of the same safety precautions as you do when you're engaging in lethal force. But it is a really awesome, flexible tool that you can, bring with you anywhere and use anywhere.
Maybe
once I puncture it, once I'm through practicing, I put in a clean cartridge because I want to know I've got full energy. Should I have to use the gun?
Yep.
One thing he didn't mention, which I guess some people would see as a feature and some wouldn't, is that with the safety on and you pull the trigger, the gun won't go off, but it will puncture the cartridge. Now, the reason you do that, some people might want to do that for practice, is that makes the first pull to shoot a projectile less, I believe. What's the trigger pull?
So the trigger pull is, I think it's 4.5 pounds after the first one. So the mechanism that's required to, puncture the CO2 is in the trigger. So if you have a scenario like the scenario I mentioned about the pastor in the parking lot, if there's a scenario where you're going to have to use your launcher or think you are, you can pre-puncture it on safe. So the reason you would do that is the first trigger pull, you lose 20 feet per second with just the mechanism to puncture it. So to take a step back, the launcher, your first clip will fire between 280 to 300 feet per second. So it has some serious giddy up, and that goes down by your 20th round. You're not using your 20th round for self-defense. That's probably firing at around 220. It's still fast enough to puncture the projectile, but frankly, if you need to fire 20 rounds, you're first off in spray and pray, and second off, you need to move to a different neighborhood.
Yeah, and what's the trigger pull on the very first pull, assuming you didn't pre-puncture it? I know it's heavier. I never measured it.
It's 4 pounds and change when we've measured it.
For the first pull?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's still even less than a double action revolver.
Yep. So it is. You don't rack it. You don't need the magazine. Basically,
you won't rack.
The way that it functions is when you load the magazine, I'll actually just show you right now. So there's a ball indicator, another one of the features. So we have some kind of neat safety things we do. So one of the things we do is we turn around the CO2 cap the other way. So it's impossible to have a CO2 in there. Just as, I've learned that from our law enforcement partners, just as a best practices. So that there's nothing in there. So the other thing that people ask is, how do you know? Okay, so CO2, we know if we have that turn the other way that there's nothing in there. But with a projectile, so I loaded one projectile in the magazine. I took the magazine out. You can see this little bump here. So that is a ball indicator. And if I press that, the round comes out. So that's how you know if there is anything in the launcher.
Yeah. So to unload, you take the magazine out and then push on the loaded chamber indicator, and that pops the round out.
So Michael was asking about cleaning requirements, lint, pet hair, dust, mud, etc. Also, how susceptible to water damage, rain, fall into a creek, pool, etc. And what kind of regular maintenance is required?
Yep. So amazing question. So first off, our CO2 comes in 10 packs outside of the our standard kit, we call it. So one out of those 10 CO2s is lubricated. And so that is enough to keep our CO2 tube lubricated and the launcher in good condition. Very little maintenance required. The awesome thing is, and I have the videos to back it up, we've submerged this in a pool for a day. We've run over it with a Wrangler. Because this is really high-grade polymer aluminum steel, you can absolutely beat this up. You can throw it in the mud. You could do whatever. You hose it off. You wipe it off. It's very low maintenance and very easy to maintain.
Okay, so you have CO2 that you sell. Can somebody use other CO2 cartridges?
So, and that is another thing. I apologize. I forgot. So our CO2 that you use in this launcher, this is our XL. This uses a 12-gram CO2. That is the most widely available CO2. Our slightly shorter launcher that doesn't have, where it turns from orange to black, this adapter is not on the launcher. That uses an 8-gram CO2. That's a smaller, atypical CO2. Between us gals, you can actually find that at the SodaStream aisle in Walmart, but we recommend only using our CO2. So that 8-gram is not proprietary, but it is not, really prevalent.
You're just trying to make an extra 12 cents.
Well,
yes.
But the other thing is the ones at Walmart are not going to have the one cartridge that's got the lubricant in it that automatically lubricates your gun when you use it.
So, we also have an accessory that's our oiler kit. So you can, lubricate the inside of the CO2 tube and the barrel and all that good stuff. So that is one of the reasons we sell, for every 10 launchers we sell 8 of our standard smaller SD, and then we sell 2 of these XLs. people like the XL, and we also sell a standalone adapter that you can affix on your smaller SD. I personally prefer the smaller profile because that's really one of the big features and benefits is the compact size of it. However, if you're traveling, for example, TSA regulations say you can only so you can bring this in your checked baggage on an airplane, no declaration, no nothing. I travel all around the country. My bags get searched. They say, oh, it's paintball stuff. So that's one of the really, really awesome is there's zero requirement to travel with this. You have to check it. But when I'm traveling, I like having this XL because I don't have to worry about CO2. I'll go to, any sporting goods store, Walmart, Target, whatnot. So that is one of the features of the larger unit. One of the other things I do want to highlight is interstate travel. So differing places have different rules in terms of where you can carry this. By and large in the country, this is, allowed to be carried almost everywhere. There are certain states like New Jersey where, it's ambiguous in certain regards. But interstate travel. So when folks are obviously the summer's winding down, but when folks are camping, hiking, hunting, traveling to visit family, driving across state lines, you can bring this with you wherever, and you're 99.99999% confident that everywhere you're taking it, it is perfectly legal and able to protect you and your family.
Yeah, and in Virginia, you can conceal it without a permit because it's not a firearm and it's not listed.
I did like in the comments that was earlier, someone said good around animals, because I know there's been quite a few people out on a walk and a dog's gotten loose and the person had to shoot the neighbor's dog because they had it off leash.
So attacked. You bring up a really great scenario that highlights the efficacy on animals and specifically with dogs. So we cannot advertise that it is incredibly effective on animals, but it is. So, we would have PETA all over our butts, but it is incredibly effective on animals. The only animal we have not thus far tested it on is a bear because no one's volunteered. But actually really, really neat. In the Pacific Northwest, fishermen are actually using this with our kinetic rounds to fire at seals who are stealing their prey. So, it's
because it won't kill the seal. It just stings and he's on his way.
Exactly. But so we had a scenario down in Texas where 2 officers were called to serve an arrest warrant. The perpetrator sent his attack dog at the officers. So, as our LE folks, we're all dog lovers here at Byrna, and our partners who, were formerly in law enforcement have said, there are way too many times that I, care to think about where I've had to kill a dog because that there was no tool that was effective to, protect me and my fellow officers. And we did, unfortunately, what had to be done. So we had a scenario where this perpetrator sent his attack dog at those officers. Those officers were thankfully carrying their Byrna in addition to their lethal firearm. They fired 2 rounds of Byrna Max. The dog scampered off to his kennel. Was, animals, their respiratory system is so much more sensitive to ours. So it is, really, really damaging to them and, temporarily, obviously, but debilitating. And the dog scampered off to his kennel and they were able to arrest the guy. Besides this product, they would have killed that dog. And all director of law enforcement is actually he holds one of 18 successful use cases of a taser on a dog. So he's it's very few and far between when the most ubiquitous tools that these officers have can be flexible to deal with different types of scenarios, and again highlights the value of this platform because it's so flexible.
Well, Stephen, I this has been a very informative 15 minutes. I know we've got to get to other things. Is it okay if our members email you directly if they have a question about something?
Absolutely. So my email is, and you can circulate it, but my email is Stephen at Byrna, Stephen with a PH, STPHEN at Byrna.com. You can email me any questions. We're actually running a promo on the site right now, and that is affecting the VC. We're running a 15% off promo for this weekend on the site, and that's actually affecting the 20% code. So if I've presented such a compelling case and everyone and folks feel, they need to go right now and buy a Byrna, I'll send them some goodies or something. But otherwise, hopefully by tomorrow morning, I should have the code all squared away.
Okay, so get the code squared away. We'll get your email address. If you write to president@vcdl.org and get Philip, and then you can post those videos that you wanted people to see.
Perfect.
We'll include that in our newsletter that goes out to 60,000 people.
President@VCDL.
Yep. .org.
.org. Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you so much for the time, folks. I really appreciate it. And feel free to reach out with any questions, and take care.
Really appreciate you joining us.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
and thanks
Stephen.
for offering the discount to our members.
Very nice.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and to be clear, we're not getting a slice of any of that, but we did want to get the discount for a membership.
Yeah, I originally approached him about, maybe send us $5-10 for everyone that buys it. And he's like, how about I just give them a great discount? And if they want the discount, they join VCDL. And I'm like, we'll take it. So if you want that 20% off, join VCDL so you're a member, so you can take advantage of the discount code. And that was very interesting conversation. I'm sorry to cut him off, but we do have some other things that we got to get to.
Yeah, I was about to do the same because, the clock's ticking. We got a lot of stuff going on as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Pat hit on the picnic, which is going to be coming up.
I know
we have now we've not announced it yet online, but we should be getting the paperwork to finalize lobby day. So we are going to once again be at the bell tower like we used to be.
And those that don't know, Lobby Day is Martin Luther King Day every year. And yes, the General Assembly is in session and they will be working, and there's no fee to park at the meters that day. And
the third Monday in January, always the third Monday.
Uh-huh.
And is it the 16th in 2023? I think it.
I'll just take a quick look right now. I think it is, but I want to.
Yep.
And we should have a lobby day dinner the Sunday night before lobby day for those of people that come in from out of town. So watch your VA alert emails for details on that when we get closer to lobby day.
And details on lobby day will be coming out later as we, any kind of potential changes.
Right.
It'd be funny if we had 60,000 people show up with burners.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can't carry, at least as of right now, and that could change as well, but as of right now, you couldn't carry something like the Byrna or pepper spray into the building at the Capitol or the General Assembly. Again, stay tuned, maybe that could change. But you certainly should be able to have something like that at the rally outside, because there's nothing against that. So you couldn't have a firearm, but you could have a Byrna, you could have pepper spray, you could have a taser, things like that. So you don't have to come completely unarmed to be a part of that. But we can't, it's a catch-22. We can't wait till we get our rights back to begin lobbying. We've got to lobby with restricted rights if that's what it takes, because we got to win this battle. And sometimes you're going to have to go in with less than optimal. That's just the way it is. If we're going to succeed in this, we can't let other people carry our water. So do plan on being there, whatever the conditions are, be it carrying a Byrna or if anything else changes. Who knows? Something else could change between now and January. With the thanks to the ruling in Bruin. I mean, who knows? So we'll see, but we'll keep you posted. But do put it on your calendars. Spread the word. Let's try to have a big lobby day. This is going to be the last time, hopefully, that we'll be dealing with a Senate that's controlled by gun controllers by one vote. One vote is just demolished things that we've been trying to do. Of course, the pro-gun side controls the House, and that's demolished everything the gun controllers have wanted to do. So we're at a sort of a standoff here. But if the election goes well in 2023, then
the problem is in the Senate, the party with the majority is the one that names who's in what committee. So getting out of a committee is really, really difficult. But, VCDL's been in tougher spots before. Gun owners in Virginia have been in tougher spots before. And we will turn the ship around. It's just going to take time, and it's going to take all of you guys sending those emails, making the phone calls, and showing up for lobby day.
And gun owners have to realize that just because we have a Republican governor and a lieutenant governor and attorney general, they're like, we made it. We're good.
Yeah,
we're not.
Yep.
It takes more than the governor can't wave a magic scepter and decree law. It has to go through the General Assembly. It has to get through both the House and the Senate. Husky Mom is asking if we'll be arranging buses again this year.
Hadn't thought that far out. I would imagine we will, but that'll be up to the board to decide, since that can involves quite a bit of money. But the main thing is we want to have a strong presence again, because again we want the message across. And it's going to be an interesting session. Bruin has changed everything, so we're going to see how that affects the General Assembly in Virginia. But that could be a brighter light on what could happen in the General Assembly coming in 2023 than we originally thought.
It certainly changed things, like in Maryland, for changing Maryland to shall issue.
Hey, if we get courts saying that some of this local gun control is unconstitutional, then we may well be able to get the General Assembly to just repeal it. I mean, that's possible that we could get that restored in 2023 when we wouldn't have dreamt of it before. The things have changed, but we can't A, take anything for granted, and B, we need to make sure we're strongly engaged on this, especially in 2023 and 2024. Let me sidestep a little bit. One of the things that I've been looking at from a distance for a while has been the mental health issue. I think the statistic is somewhere of about half of the people that commit suicide do so with a firearm, and which means we're losing a lot of gun owners, for one thing, to suicide. Now, so I've been doing a little investigation into this. We all know that red flag laws are baloney, that they're not put in place to help anybody. They don't care if you get help with the red flag law. They just want to take your guns away. And sadly, some of the law enforcement have been falling into using it, really not for that purpose, but for other things. And it's kind of weird how it's being used. But red flag is bad, and we need to repeal it. But the problem is with temporary detention orders, what we have had in place in Virginia for a while now, that does get a person help. Well, I've learned that there are some problems in practice in parts of the state with temporary detention orders. And so I've been talking to people and trying to see, what, if anything, can VCDL do to help get these problems solved, so the temporary detention orders are used more to get people help, and the red flag can be phased out or just gotten rid of altogether anyhow. One of the problems is, in some areas, but not all, I learned, is that police officer can be tied up for days with one temporary detention order because they don't have a place to put him. There's no bed available in some of these private, hospitals. And then if there's no bed there, then they're supposed to be able to take him to the state hospital, and the state hospitals are understaffed. So they're kind of, even though the law says they'll take these guys, they're not taking them. And so the officer then is here guarding somebody that they're just trying to get them somewhere to get evaluated and get some help. And so some police departments and sheriff's departments can't afford, one sheriff's department I talked to, they've got 2, maybe 3 officers in the field at any point in time. That's it for an entire county. That's not many officers. Now, if they have 1 TDO, now their force is cut in half or by a third that day. So the sheriff has to go in himself and try to fill in while somebody sits around and babysits a temporary detention order. There are some solutions out there, but I think and not all of it's financial, although they could put more money in this. But it's the more I've dug into this, the more my head is spinning about, somehow, and I know they're working on trying to come up with something. So other states are somehow making this work better than we are in Virginia, but just finding people, even with good pay, that are willing to, say, work at the state hospital and deal with people that are, having a bad trip on drugs or whatever it is that they bring somebody in for treatment because of the violence and everything else associated. It's not easy to find somebody, but this is a real problem. It really is. And, we're trying to work something out with it. We certainly have some talent in the organization. We've got psychiatrists that are members. We're certainly in contact. We've got plenty of police forces that are willing to work with us. Again, a sheriff is the one that taught me about a lot of the problems that are going on. Another sheriff down in Tidewater said down there they have something called CTAC, and with that works pretty well for them. They said the only problem is like they had a patient that had COVID, and because they had COVID, the CTAC wouldn't take them. So then they were back to babysitting this person for days. And what ended up happening before they could find a bed for the person, the TDO had expired. So it's a real issue, and I'm certainly open. If any we've got some experts out there. If some of you have ideas, it's good. I know that they're looking at maybe coming up with specially trained officers that are law enforcement, but they're volunteers or not paid a high amount. But like I was a deputy in Texas, I wasn't paid. I was a volunteer. If you can find enough people like that to do the TDO part, the sheriff would turn over the person being TDO'd to this other person who then that's their job. Their job is to get this person to the bed and so forth, and have people watching over him until that happens.
Well, I have to wonder if that can't be shifted to the state police instead of to the local. There may be more resources available in the state police department. I don't know. It
may not be.
I hear they're all hurting.
I think they're all hurting, and some of that's definitely not through fault of their own. But I just want to point this out. It's something that, we are looking at. We're trying to trying to see if we can be helpful. Obviously, we have nothing to offer other than, I know we've put out there a couple months ago to remind people, hey, if you do find yourself depressed, maybe you've lost your job, you're getting a divorce, you've lost somebody in your family close to you's died, any of those things, and you suddenly feel like, you're in a precarious place mentally, you can always take your guns to a friend and just give them your guns temporarily until you feel better. Just to play it safe, just to not fall into that trap of wanting to find an easy way or a quick way out. Certainly a gun offers that, but that's not the way to go. It's not fair to family. It's not fair to friends.
And it doesn't solve anything. It just shifts the burden.
Yeah, everybody else now, if they were in the same pain you were having due to a loss, now they've got you on top of that. Now their burden has gone up. It's really tough. So, we can offer things like that, remind people, maybe work out something. But I think for gun owners, what's important is they really don't want to turn their guns over to the government. Right. And the other thing is, and there is one other thing that's important in this. Right now, we've got to fix our law right now. You want to encourage people who are having a mental crisis to get help. But if you're going to penalize them by taking away their gun rights, they're not going to get that help. I know I wouldn't.
No.
The problem right now is if you go to a residential setting, let's say you've developed an alcohol problem. You become an alcoholic or you're just addicted to it for trying to get it through your sorrows, and you realize it's bad. You're destroying yourself, you're hurting your family. So you go have a residential setting where you go to wean yourself off the alcohol. You lose your gun rights or your permit, your ability to carry concealed. You lose your gun rights, but you lose your ability to have a concealed carry permit for 5 years.
That's so dumb.
That's stupid. They're telling you, well, don't get help, because if you do, we're going to penalize you. No, right. It should be, if you do it on your own, we will not penalize you unless it's something extreme. The doctor says, this guy's really, really dangerous. That's different. But you go in because you've got problems with alcohol and you get it fixed.
It ought to be that they tack on an extra year to your permit and reward you for going to get help.
Or at least make it so that if you go in front of a judge and show that you're now good, you got somebody, like maybe the place where you went to get your treatment says, he's good now. that would be sufficient. No 5-year wait. Maybe you do that, or maybe there's no way. That needs to be worked out. But the system we've got now is not good. You don't want to discourage. And the gun controllers don't care about this discouraging thing. We fought this before. There was something else like that years ago that we had to fight, and we did fight it. Where again, they were going to penalize you if you'd gone to get help, and it wasn't dealing with this residential thing, but it was something else similar. Where if you got help, then they wanted to yank your gun rights. And they
don't care how they ban guns from us. They don't.
They're not worried about you.
It's just like the whole marijuana thing. You go, oh, I got a card, I can smoke marijuana now, but it's still illegal federally, and they don't care that you lose your gun rights. They just want everybody have a joint, everybody have a bong hit.
Well, losing gun rights from their point of view is a plus.
Right. Hey, let's switch gears for a second and talk about. We had our first in-person meeting at XCal Range in Loudoun County next to Top Golf. If you don't know what XCal is, it's the $30 million facility that's a shooting range. It's got private ranges. It's got public ranges. It's got meeting space. It's got a gym. It's got restaurants. It's a great place. And we had our first meeting there. We were joined by candidates Yesley Vega and also Hung Kao, who are running for Congress, which is really not our bailiwick, but they wanted to come talk to our members. So our next in-person meeting is going to be Thursday, this coming Thursday, the 18th, and XCal has agreed to host us on the third Thursday of every month because we used to have the in-person meetings in Annandale, and now we switched to XCal. I also, in social media, I get, hey, when are you going to have a meeting down here? Or how do I get a meeting down where I'm at? And the answer to that is pretty simple. You just find out what dates Philip might be available by sending an email to president@vcdl.org. And you find out a couple dates. You find a venue that can house, 50, 75, 100 people that's close to a gun-friendly restaurant. And we set the date, we advertise it on social media, and then you have a meeting in your own neighborhood. So it's really that simple. Talked about
Pat. As I say, Pat. I know we're trying to speed things up because it's been an hour. Pat, you want to talk about Top Gun as the PAC?
I do. I'm looking forward to Top Gun. So the VCDL PAC is holding its second annual Top Gun fundraiser and shooting competition. And it will be at the same place in Powhatan on September 10th. That's a Saturday. You can sign up to shoot in the competition, which is a dueling tree competition. It's $125 to enter the competition, and the top prize is $1,000 in green dollar bills. And there will also be Mission Barbecue is catering, I believe, again this year. It was wonderful last year. So if you want to just come and cheer people on, you can grab tickets for $40, I think it is. Or if you're a member, you get a discount on that. You can go to vcdl.org/top-gun and see the details on the competition. We also have sponsor slots available still, so you can click on the link on the Top Gun page and get to the sponsor page to see the details on that. So I'm looking forward to it. It was a really fun event last year, and I'm hoping we get an even better turnout this year.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. If you like shooting, you'll want to attend this. And again, great company. Just a great day all the way around.
Yep. So the way the dueling tree competition works, there's a stand that has 8 steel targets, I think it is, and six. Okay, so we start with 3 on one side and 3 on the other, and there's 2 competitors that square off against each other. And when the buzzer goes off, you start blasting, and when you hit the paddle, it moves over to the opponent's side of the tree. And so last year we had a 20 round count. Each competitor has 20 rounds, and the first one that runs out of ammo stops the match. And the one with the most paddles on their opponent's side wins that round. And we did a double elimination. So the losers would move into a loser's bracket and then get a chance to move forward again. until we get to the last two standing who face off against each other. And you have the winner being named Top Gun for the year.
And it's intense. If you've never done a dueling tree against somebody, it is intense, but it's fun too. And that it's that intensity that makes it fun.
And if you want to try it, but don't want to join the competition, we also had a stage where you could challenge somebody and the loser would make a contribution to the VCDL pack. So, and we also had King George 4-H Shooting Club came out and set up a sporting clays stage where you could go, just try sporting clays. It wasn't a competition, but you could try your hand at sporting clays with some expert guidance there if you've never done it before, and donations to help defray the cost of the shotgun shells and the clays. Greatly appreciated. King George.
We're going to be there again.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. King George 4-H Shooting Club is sponsored by VCDL, and they've done very well in their competitions. So
that's what a dueling tree looks like. For those that didn't know. Gun shows. We hear from the gun show coordinators all the time that we need people to man the gun shows, to work the booths. They're announced on our social media, and obviously you're watching us either on YouTube or Facebook Live or something like that. But all of our social media, we're on them all. You can follow us at vcdl.org/linktree to follow us on your favorite one. And please volunteer your time to work the gun shows there. And
think about it this way: you don't have to work every gun show by any means. I mean, we have so many people. If you just work one gun show a year, and everybody did that, well, we'd have to turn people away as it would be. But it doesn't. You don't have to. This isn't a major life commitment to gun shows. But if you just said, "Yeah, I'll work one every 6 months, or once a year, every July I'll work one, or every January, whatever," that alone would be helpful. But we like to have new blood in there. It's such an educational thing as well. You'll walk away fulfilled, as well as even though you're there teaching other people things, you'll be learning stuff.
And if you don't want to work a gun show, we have other events that are not gun shows, fall festivals, and
right.
National Night Outs.
When you work the gun show, you also get into the gun show for free, and a lot of the vendors will give you a discount because you're wearing a vendor badge. The festivals and stuff, that's interesting that you say that, Ed, because we have here in my little town, which doesn't even have a street light, we have Beaver Dam Heritage Day, which VCDL has set up a booth at. We have a Beaver Dam Wine Festival, which VCDL has set up a booth at. Coming up, we've got the Beaver Dam Brew Jam, where a bunch of microbrew beers are served, and VCDL will have a booth at that. So
will Pat's Pot page have a booth there?
No, because it's on a Saturday, and Pat works on Saturdays, so Pat Webb's Pots won't be there.
Hey, Philip, you said you wanted to talk about something about Dennis. You told me to remind you.
No, that we covered that.
I just didn't check it. I just didn't check it off.
The other thing is the city of Winchester. Again, they were looking at modifying their ordinance, and in the end, because of the Bruin case, the lawsuit that's going against them, and a lot of pressure from you guys not to make their ordinance worse, they ended up backing off from making any changes for now, and they're watching what happens. They're waiting for the ruling to come down from the lawsuit that's going against the city of Winchester right now, and we're expecting that will probably, at this point, it's probably going to be the results of that lawsuit will come out probably in early September. Sometime in September is what we're thinking. You never know for sure on these things, but that's kind of where it looks like it's going. And so if that comes out the way we're hoping, Winchester's going to have to do a massive change, if not just completely repeal their ordinance. And when they fall, then we need to also be casting our eyes at Richmond and so forth. And Blacksburg, of course, has their, like I say, they had their event stepping out And the signage was just unbelievable. They didn't even come close. The law says that if you're banning guns at a permitted event, you got to have a sign at every point you can come in and every point you can exit, and at any place of any nature whatsoever that's open to the public has to have a sign posting it. That means every business that's open to the public, every one downtown Blacksburg would have to have a no gun sign. And if they had a gun dealer, even they would have to get rid of the guns in the store and put up a no gun sign. That's how stupid.
If they have a picture of a revolver with the slash through it, does that still mean I can carry my semi-auto because it's not a revolver?
Yeah, they have to have certain, it's all crazy. And Blacksburg wasn't even close. I mean, I think there were two places out of that. The whole city's open. You can come in from all different angles. There were two places that had the marking on it, and that was it. And you could come in anywhere. None of the stores were marked. The whole thing was unable to. They couldn't have backed that law up with anything because they didn't do the proper signage for it.
Well, same with Winchester. Don't they have like an apple blossom festival or something like that? Yeah. And it's all over the city. So you'd have to post every road going into the city and every business in the city.
But their attorney's denying this to the city council. The city attorney, last I saw, was giving them what I considered bad advice. It was, oh no, this only applies to government property that's open to the public. Oh no, it doesn't say government property. If the General Assembly wanted it to be government property that's open to the public, guess what? They would have put in the law government property that's open to the public. They said property of any nature. That's, it doesn't take a law degree to know what that means.
Yeah.
That's like 10th grader stuff, you know? So, but they're still, Winchester still got this fantasy that somehow it doesn't require that every store, and I do believe they have a gun store, that would apply to any of them. Yes, it will. If you do it right. And I don't think they want to do it right. I don't know if anybody, honestly, Pat, I don't know if any of the locations that are doing this, I'll bet you none of them are marking things the way they're supposed to. I'll bet you this thing is basically inapplicable everywhere you go right now.
They don't care. They're counting on gun owners just to be scared and go, oh, I see a sign, whether it's marked or not, or whether there's a permanent event or not. They're counting on gun owners to not be informed.
Well, you're not seeing a sign in some cases. If you would have went to Blacksburg and you came in from the area where there's a armory, it used to be an armory there. Now it's some kind of a artistic building or something. But if you came in that entrance, there was no markings whatsoever. You could walk that whole thing all over and never see a marking unless you happened to go out and go through where the parking garage was, or you went on the opposite side where they had a band set up and you went out that way. Then you might see a sign on your way out, but you wouldn't have. By then it would have been too late. But you could have come in a whole bunch of other ways and never.
It's like Richmond that leaves their signs up. Richmond leaves their signs up when they don't have anything going on.
But even then they're not marking all the stores that are open, and that's going to be fun. Going into every store and saying we're going to put a political sign on your store, and it's going to be there permanently, like they are on the streets. The business are going to tell them where to put that.
So what about areas where there's parks, like say in Fairfax, and people's houses back up to the parks, and there's trails that go by their houses, and they can just go out their backyard into the trails into the parks? There's no way you could enforce that.
Yeah. No, and they count. Look, this is counting on intimidation because criminals don't care about any of this. Let's be clear. They don't care. Post all the signs you want. Not going to change them. They're going to, in fact, they might actually attract them. Say, oh, good. Oh, I know all the women in this park are unarmed, so I'm going to pick one, drag her in the bushes. But as far, it's really meant to intimidate us. Say, well, you do care about getting arrested. If you carry in our park, my God, we're gonna arrest you. That's what they're counting on.
Wasn't there a guy at the Winchester meeting that was threatened in one of the parks?
Yeah.
And it was a racially motivated attack. And the only thing that stopped it was there were passersby that happened to notice what was going on and back the guy up. So,
yeah. Yeah, and of course there have been rapes, and since they passed the law, and robberies and everything else up in Fairfax.
Oh, look at Alexandria. Their crime rate really skyrocketed.
Yeah, and so, but again, we got brewing, cooking. We got this lawsuit that VCDL is funding, and so again, stay tuned. I mean, we are truly living in some pretty interesting times right now. Stuff can happen at any time, and of course, I'll let everybody know, when these things come out. But try to stay in this, because things can happen, and we may need to move quickly.
Right.
Again, for example, if we do have a win, say in Winchester, we may then want to also cast our eyes to Blacksburg, and we may want our members to bombard Blacksburg with "Look what happened to Winchester,"
or Richmond,
or Richmond.
Yep.
Richmond is so sorely deserving.
Certainly take the action items that we put out in the VA alert, and it says make a call or send this email. Take the couple minutes and do that, because when they get thousands of those, it really makes a difference.
That absolutely does. And, I'm really excited about the way things seem to be going. But just because things seem to be turning in our direction doesn't mean that you can sit back and say, phew, because now is the time when the tide is turning and pushing us upstream. That's when we need to paddle harder and make a lot more headway. So, just because things are looking uber favorable doesn't mean that we can relax. It means that it's time to work harder and use that momentum to really gain some ground.
We got a lot of ground to gain. A lot of ground to gain. Well, we lost a lot of things over 2020 and 2021. We got to get all that back for starters. That's just to put us where we were in 2019.
Right.
2019 wasn't perfect. And I've been seeing, things on Twitter where there, a lot more states are looking at allowing teachers to carry in schools. But I've been making the same message over and over again. Go with Utah. Again, this is something I want to keep planting in you guys and spread the word. Let's go with the Utah model. Anybody with a permit can carry in a Utah school. No special training beyond what it took to get the permit. That's it.
How many Utah shootings have they had since they've done that?
There have been the Utah's had no problems with their schools like that. It's not happened. There's the answer. Of course, the other side will totally melt down, but I don't care. Meltdown. It's fun watching them turn into bugs.
By the way, Utah does not require live fire to get a permit either.
Right. Yeah, the whole point is most Americans are great people. They're people with common sense. And if you're one that goes out to get the permit, the statistics are there. These are not people that are scofflaws. These are not people that run around threatening others. It's just not the nature of people that get these permits. And there's no reason on God's green earth, not to mention the fact that we've got the Second Amendment. Why isn't that good enough to say we can protect our schools? What you're looking for is deterrence. Right. And deterrence is not knowing. Deterrence can be several things. For the Soviet Union and America, it was called mutual assured destruction. You shoot an atomic bomb at me and I'm going to shoot one at you and we both die. So there's no advantage in doing that. Well, at schools, you've got the deterrent of, who do I shoot first? Well, I have no idea. Anybody except the students could be packing a gun in here. Anybody.
Janitors, bus drivers, teachers, parents, librarians, you don't know.
Air conditioner repairman, the guy working on a computer in the other room.
Absolutely.
Anybody. And Utah is a shine. They're not the only state that does this. Other states have not been problems, but the other side will never admit that. To their dying breath, they're going to say that, oh no, you've got you should, even teachers can't carry. We need to have, somebody special. They don't even want off-duty law enforcement carrying. I mean, in fact, in Fairfax County, they don't want their resource officers carrying guns.
And
they literally want these kids to have no security. Meanwhile, all of our other government buildings all have all kinds of security, but they want our most precious thing, our children, not to have any security. And this is for real with the school board in Fairfax County, which again shows you why you better go vote, and you better vote for everybody that you can vote for as far as what class of people. Be sure you vote for your school board. Find out who's got decent beliefs that tie in with your own. Vote for them. Don't ignore the school board. Even if you don't have a kid, don't ignore the school board, because that's the future of this country.
Better yet, run for the school board.
Sure. Better yet, who would be better than our members to run for any office, quite frankly?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the Utah plan is really the answer, because I've heard a lot of people, and I mean, I know, Philip, you get zillions of emails, but on the social media, I get a lot of things like, we ought to put a veteran at every school or an extra school resource officer. And while it's my personal opinion, that's not the answer, because if the bad guy sees 2 resource officers, they leave at 3, he'll hit at 4, or he'll hit that guy first because they're out standing out front or in uniform, or he'll watch where he's going. But you can't do that if everybody carries. You can't.
Not only that, Ed, what I'm suggesting, the Utah model, you know how much it costs? It's free.
Yep.
It's free.
Absolutely.
It doesn't cost the schools 1 penny. State doesn't have to give any money to them. It's only voluntary. We're not saying, teachers, you've got to carry a gun. No. It's only if the teacher wants to do it.
I've got plenty of teachers that absolutely want to carry right now, and they can't say that voice out loud because they're afraid to get fired.
Yep. And,
yeah, we got to fix all that.
Statistics prove that those gun-free zones, I call them victim disarmament zones, they are the target of choice of mass murderers, crazed people.
Well, the guy in Colorado at the Aurora Theater went to 8 theaters till he found the one that had a no gun sign. Yep.
The Buffalo grocery store attack was a gun-free zone. You know, it's New York. You can't carry for self-defense. You can't get permits to carry in New York. And even if you do, your guns are so neutered that you really don't have a viable means. So,
but you know, at the end of the day, you know, that's why all of us have to stay engaged. We need to keep getting these messages out to everybody you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even people on the other side, they need to hear this. I mean, it's one thing to be quiet. Oh, I don't want to stir him or her up. You know, stir them up. They need to hear this stuff. They need to think.
Because they've only been hearing one side.
Yeah, and not only that, and don't get discouraged if they don't jump right over and say, oh, yeah, I think guns are great. Something like this is done like a seed. You plant a seed. You get them thinking about, you know, why what they're saying wouldn't work, and, you know, what the problems are with it, and why the answer is actually simpler. And part of it's learning to trust other people. The majority of this country is made of good people. There's a very small amount of very bad people, and that keep getting let out of jail and back on the street. You know, they're the ones that are causing most of the mayhem in this country. But, you know, it takes time. You plant a seed. I've seen it work. And suddenly one day, finally, the seed germinates, and they suddenly go, yep, I've seen it happen, you know, and suddenly they understand it. And once they understand it, watch out, because they really understand it.
Usually once they're a victim of a violent attack, but
Right.
Oh yeah, very quickly.
We've got a lot of members like that that have actually come to meetings and told their story. I hated guns and I wasn't loved, and then this happened. And what we're saying is, you don't have to wait for something bad to happen for you to turn on the light and see what's going on.
Yep.
Well,
you know, as a responsible adult, you are responsible for your own health, your own support, and your own well-being, and your own safety, and that of your family. You know, I mean, it really hit home with me once I had kids and realized that I have to protect them from bad people that might do bad things to them as best they can. And the best way I knew to do that was to carry my gun. So that was a choice.
Or at least have something. By the way, that was an interesting thing. You know, I think the VCL's position on especially nonviolent felons has always been, once you've done your time, once you've done whatever it is the state said you need to do, be it reparations of some sort to your victim, to serving time in jail, to public service, whatever it is, once you've done it and you're a nonviolent felon, Our position has always been you should get your gun rights back and all your civil rights all at once, automatically. You paid your fine, and now you go back to what it is.
Yep.
But
if
Byrna,
I agree.
If you're
I agree
trustworthy enough to be out walking among us, then you should have your rights restored.
And by the way, for a person stuck in that mode right now that hasn't gotten their gun rights back, actually Byrna is a solution for that as well. They don't have to be helpless just because they wrote a hot check 30 years ago and still haven't had their rights restored.
Right. Or
Byrna
somebody
would be legal to carry because it's not a firearm.
Or somebody that lost their rights because they were in a messy divorce and the wife accused or the spouse accused them of domestic abuse and they pled no contest. And then we had the law change that said if you were ever convicted of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence, you lose your gun rights forever.
Yes, it's so absolutely insane. But again, that's why one of the other things I like to say, if you get that's a Byrna solution for somebody like that. No, it's not as good as a gun. It's not, but it's a hell of a lot better than nothing.
Yep.
And the older you get, the better that is. It's a horrible injustice. But I'm always on the lookout for things that would help people that are stuck in a situation like that don't deserve to be there.
Right.
So a lot of people just don't realize that might be stuck in that domestic violence thing and say, dang, I can't, I have no way to defend myself anymore. There is.
Yeah. I had a customer that, I run a gun store, but I had a customer that came in and she had attempted suicide because her dad had recently died and she went through, she was really despondent. And anyway, she was hospitalized because she attempted suicide. And then later on, she got over the death and of her father and had recovered and was mentally stable. And she went to try to buy a gun, not realizing that hospitalization then had prohibited her. And so she was arrested and faced some pretty serious charges because she had answered no to the question about the mental health. So, that's just one of those situations, again, where she could use that Byrna and not be afoul of the law. But
Yep, absolutely. At least it's something. And again, it looks like a gun. So, but again, of course, you have to be careful. If you brandish that, it's brandishing. I mean, it looks like a gun that's good enough to be charged if you brandish. You don't want to, I wouldn't pull a Byrna unless I could pull a real gun as far as being able to use it. Somebody made me kind of laugh while you were talking. I just happened to I shouldn't be reading this when you're talking because my reaction may not match what you're talking about. You're talking about a sad situation. I'm laughing because Michael Dalton said, he said, good point, Phil. Plant a seed in their head. The fertilizer is already there for good growth.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Well, I've got everything off my list covered. Do either of you have anything in closing?
I don't think so. Mark your calendars for August 28th for the picnic. If you're anywhere near Richmond, hit us up and come out and join us. It should be a really fun event. And mark your calendars for September 10th for the Top Gun competition. And if you're in Northern Virginia, plan to be with us Thursday night in person.
And if you're not in Northern Virginia, maybe once in a great blue moon, make a little bit of a drive and go visit, come have. Let me tell you, that facility is gorgeous.
One more thing about XCal on Thursday night. The meeting's at 8:00, but if you want to eat or shoot beforehand, come a little bit early. Instead of paying $25 for the lane, it's $20 for the lane. So tell them you're a VCDL member, get there around 6:30, go shoot, grab something to eat, and then go to the meeting. And if there's time, you can even grab a bite to eat after the meeting because they close at 10 and the meeting will probably end around 9:15.
Yep. And if you get there early enough and Philip gets there early enough, maybe you can challenge him to a duel.
Yeah. Loser has to.
If you challenge Philip with a duel, don't bet money or you'll lose your money.
No, not necessarily.
All right,
we got some very good shooters. But anyhow, thank you.
Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Maybe we'll see some of you on Thursday.
All right.
All right. Good night.
Bye.